Movie man here, diving headfirst into the tree line of Wrong Turn 3. Left for Dead. Buckle up, it's 2009, the third entry of the Wrong Turn franchise, and we're about to shred more Mountain State flesh. This one's a direct-to-DVD slasher set in the backwoods of West Virginia, and let me tell you, it wastes no time introducing carnage. We open on four college kids, Alex, Brent, Sophie, and Trey, cheerfully canoeing on a river in the West Virginia hills. Cue ominous music, because predictably, Three Fingers' very bad day walks into frame. Inbred cannibal Three Finger shows up like an uninvited dinner guest and immediately dispatches three of the kayakers, leaving only Alex alive. Seriously, it's the quickest college orientation horror ever. 1 minute they're singing, Kumbaya, the next Three Finger is running them down like bowling pins. Pro tip: never trust a daylight rafting trip in Wrong Turn territory. Alex is left horrified and bleeding, having watched her friends turn into chew toys right before her eyes. And that's it for Act 1, 3 bodies and 1 lucky survivor. 2 days later, the tone shifts from river gore to road gore. A prison bus is rolling through the woods, carrying a strange ensemble. 3 prison guards, Nate, Walter, and rookie Preslow, an undercover U.S. Marshal, Willie, and 4 prisoners, including crime kingpin Carlo Chavez and 3 henchmen Floyd the neo-Nazi serial killer, Crawford the car thief, and Brandon the former Marine. If this feels like a weird crossover between the Shawshank Redemption and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're not alone. The trek is headed toward Hazleton Prison, but of course nothing goes smoothly in these parts. The convict transfer chaos. As the convoy takes a shortcut by an abandoned paper mill road in Greenbrier County, Three Finger strikes again. He lashes barbed wire across the road from his truck, shredding the bus's tires. The bus crashes spectacularly off the road. Think bad vacation souvenir, and the nightmares begin. Preslow, one of the guards, is knifed dead in the chaos. Now our survivors have to hoof it through the woods. Nate, Walter, Warden's last evening on duty goes straight to hell, and our prisoners, Chavez and company, plus undercover Marshal Willie. As they regroup in the forest, Nate and Walter, the guards, end up at gunpoint by the prisoners. Meanwhile, Alex, our lone rafting survivor, is spotted hiding in the trees. Of course, her first instinct is to flee the psycho in the woods, not random convicts with guns. Nate and the others drag Alex into the hostage fold, figuring more people is safety in numbers wrong. And because movie logic loves irony, they stumble upon an armored truck full of cash. After all, what's a gangbanger backpacking trip without loot? Of course the criminals flip out. $2 million in unguarded money is basically a communal blind date with disaster. Nate, believing in democracy by gunpoint, grabs a rifle from the truck and hands it off to Walter. Walter panics and shoots Chavez, but plot twist, the gun's empty. Chavez dramatically kills Walter in cold blood for his trouble. Yep, classic horror cheat. Empty firearm. Cue the group immediately devolving into the smartest conversation ever. We have guns. We have tons of money. Why don't we just keep all the money? Our criminals debate whether to kill their captors and ditch the guards for good. Meanwhile, nature's creepiest family, led by Three Finger, is still in play. Up ahead on the trail they nearly run into a booby trap. A rusted old rig and logs set on a tripwire, Three Toes handiwork, wait to smash any hiker's legs. Fortunately, clever Nate spots it and everyone sidesteps the wooden bear trap at the last second. But the trap isn't really meant for them. It was laid by Three Toes, Three Fingers' goofy nephew, to catch someone else. Realizing who's behind the trap, Chavez and Floyd chase the boy down. In a bizarre turn, they string Three Toes up and behead him right on the spot, tossing his head on a spike as a warning trophy for Three Finger. Chop off one cannibal, too bad it pisses off the other. Now the survivors trek on with Nate forced to carry the heavy money. Chavez's power play continues. He decides everyone should march to the river camp so the criminals can grab rafts and money and escape. Fat chance. Later, in a ghostly glade, Chavez panics upon hearing noise. In a comedy of errors, he steps on another cannibal trap, a crossbow rig, and blows the shoulder of the undercover Marshal Willie out with an arrow. Willie the Marshal is gore splatter. Dude had paperwork due, too. With Willie down, the odds get even worse. Crawford, thinking himself an opportunist, tries to steal Three Fingers' truck. Cue Three Finger himself popping out of the bushes. The mutant cannibal springs a razor wire net trap at Crawford, wrapping him up like an action figure and dragging him down the road to certain doom. Poof! One less thief and one more stained tarp trailing behind Three Fingers' truck. The group is whittled down to Nate, Alex, Brandon, the Marine, Floyd, the Nazi, and Chavez. At this point a local character shows up. Sheriff Calvin Carver finally finds the wrecked prison bus. He contacts HQ about the transport gone missing, then heads into the woods with Deputy Alley to investigate. From there, the film shifts gears again. Back in the forest, the surviving prisoners and Nate's posse reach the burned-out remains of an old watchtower. Remember in Wrong Turn lore that these hills love a scorched lookout. Suddenly Sheriff Carver appears on the trail, flashlight in hand. Carson is a Midwestern name for misfortune. Before he can ask one question, Three Finger leaps out and kills him with a swift strike. The Southern hospitality here is incredibly lethal. Amid this chaos, Floyd makes a desperate move. He grabs at the loot, intent on grabbing cash and bolt, finally a plan. Chavez pursues him, but it's moot. Three Finger hurls a flaming Molotov cocktail into Floyd. In a gruesome ballet, Floyd and the money both erupt into flames. The hillbillies' trap just scorched $2 million in one fell swoop. As Floyd burns, Chavez realizes his empire is melting away. He's desperate. In a panic, Chavez grabs Alex and flares with something even dumber. He literally throws Alex into the cabin of Three Finger, hoping to distract the mutant monster so the rest of his crew can escape. That's right, he uses Alex as bait. Luckily Brandon the Marine has some humanity and cold cocks Chavez for being a total heel. A smart play, since Chavez is knocked out cold, giving Nate a shot to save Alex. By now everyone's pretty much had it with Chavez's treachery. Alex wakes up tied to a chair inside Three Fingers' dingy cabin, bright-eyed but not quite bright-eyed thanks to razor wire embedded in her. Warden Alley, Sheriff Carver's deputy, is already dead, torn to bits by a cruel wire net. Nate bursts in and frees Alex. But before they can escape, Three Finger comes crashing in. The mutant has no time for negotiations. Nate and Alex dash for a decrepit tow truck nearby, Three Finger in hot pursuit. The duo manage to start the truck and veer off, but it's like chasing your video game cartridge with your car. Three Finger rams the cab and chases them until the truck flips. When it's about to explode, Brandon heroically yanks Alex out of the wreck because hey, the Marine lives up to his training. Nate meanwhile struggles with Three Finger, our final showdown. In a glorious payoff, Nate grabs that iconic meathook weapon and stabs it through Three Finger's skull. The mutant cannibal finally goes down, ending the massacre. Nate and Alex collapse in the burning woods. Morning comes. The U.S. Marshals, the ones who presumably sent Willie, show up to find Nate and Alex barely alive but ready to explain what the hell happened. They're rescued and flown out of redneck hell to safety. Cue the victory music and sigh of relief. But wait, no. Horror show plot twist time. Nate suddenly reappears on screen. Driven by greed, our hero heads back into the forest for the leftover money from the armored truck. In the shadows, Brandon intercepts him. Brandon, who's been the most decent tough guy so far, shoots Nate dead to keep all the cash for himself. Nate, our lead protagonist, gets cut down for the loot after being the main guy for 90 minutes. Brutal. Then, as Brandon revels over the money, out of the corner of our eye creeps a brand new cannibal, an unknown killer we've never met. This hillbilly, may be a cameo from One Eye or Sawtooth, leaps forward and kills Brandon with ease. And that's the final frame. Everyone's dead or maimed except Alex. The last shot is of her in a helicopter, blindfolded, rattling about the horrifying week she just had. The film ends on that classic, "This wasn't over, man." Note, leaving the door wide open for more sequels. Spoiler. A prequel and a fourth installment did follow. So to recap, by the end of the night, nearly every character is dead, poisoned not from quicksand, but from cannibal claws and greedy gunfire. The film had no mercy or kill count highlights, but our tally was basically everyone except Alex, Warden's last day one, Sheriff Carver, Deputy Alley, Marshal Willie, Walter and Nate the guards, Floyd the Nazi, Crawford the thief, Chavez the gangster, and even the final sacrificial Brandon. Just Alex survives and probably needs therapy. Tropes ahoy! Wrong Turn 3 leans hard into classic horror tropes. We got the cabin in the woods finale, the all-knowing monster that traps you, and good old backwoods cannibals with traps. Three Fingers' whole arsenal of barbed wire snares, nets, and throwing knives is textbook Wrong Turn. Heck, this movie even reminds me of Deliverance with that opening river trip and Friday the 13th. Part 3 with the doomed bus crash. It's as if every horror cliché decided to take a field trip together. And yes, there's the obligatory final girl scenario. Alex survives because, well, she doesn't succumb to greed or flat-out stupidity like the rest. The film also toys with one of my favorite horror notions. Greed is more dangerous than the monster. Here the human monsters, armed convicts, do almost as much killing as the mutant cannibal. They start fighting each other over money while the real monster is right behind them. If there's a lesson here, it's that logic checks in at the door. As one DVD reviewer quips, this movie spends so much time on its male prisoners as infighting that it feels like an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger in the Woods, and that's not a compliment. The criminals argue and backstab so much, you wonder why none of them considered running away without the cash. Spoiler: greedy chest thumping is a silent killer. Franchise callbacks. Wrong Turn 3 doesn't pretend to reset the series, it doubles down on it. It explicitly follows the events of Wrong Turn 2, Dead End. Remember that blood-soaked reality show from WT2? Yeah, Left 4 Dead starts, several years after the reality TV show Massacre, literally referencing the previous film's atrocity. It's basically saying, same world, more backwoods splatter. Otherwise, each entry is pretty much standalone. One reviewer even notes that aside from the setting and cannibals, Wrong Turn sequels are practically independent stories. So you don't need a PhD in Wrong Turn lore to follow along. The only legacy villain is, of course, Three Finger himself. Wildly enough, Three Finger is the only returning character in this series, and even he's played by a third actor, Three Fingers, three actors. Creepy symmetry. The original crew of One Eye and Sawtooth from the 2003 film are missing, replaced by Three Toes, their nephew, who we saw get horrifically beheaded by the bandits. It's a big disappointment to fans who loved Stan Winston's original makeup team work, as only two cannibals appear at first, and then Three Finger is all that's left. In fact, fans lament that the mutant family dwindles down to just two members early on, and by the end, Three Finger is left carrying the series' monster torch alone. No more grandma tooth dentures or hunchbacks, just a hook hand and a neck wound. The movie also throws in little Easter eggs for the franchise obsessives. The burned watchtower from the climax could remind you of something from the first film's backstory. There was another destroyed tower in the woods. The whole, West Virginia, cannibals, abandoned paper mill, vibe is straight from the original trilogy's playbook. And the final twist, a surprise cannibal cameo after the credits, is the Wrong Turn version of a, to be continued. We all knew another hillbilly family member had to show up, right? Critical reception. Not exactly a crowd pleaser. Even horror fans were divided. The film holds a brutal 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Ouch. Bloody Disgusting pretty much summed it up. If WT2 raised the bar, then WT3 lowers it right back down. And hey, one horror blogger admitted she was dreading this movie, but was pleasantly surprised it wasn't as terrible as expected. So take that as you will. The consensus is clear. Left 4 Dead is a lean, mean, somewhat schlocky hour and a half of redneck doom. In summary, Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead is horror comfort food for fans of backwoods carnage. It doesn't try to be subtle, it's just a non-stop series of bad decisions, blood, and hillbilly screams. Seriously, by the end you'll agree that trusting criminals in the middle of a cannibal-covered forest is a worse idea than leaving your phone charger at home. It's a mix of Deliverance vibes, Saw-style traps, and car chases with monstrous hillbillies. The acting is standard issue, the gore is over-the-top Molotov cocktails, and the jokes are, well, that's my job. If you've made it this far, survived the ride of convicts versus cannibals, congratulations. Hopefully I've shed some light, or at least blood-red spotlight, on the twisted turns of this movie. Until next time, folks, remember, never agree to a field trip with unhinged prisoners or mutated hillbillies. This is Movie Man, signing off, keep it creepy, and I'll see you in the next film. Movie Man out.